to be learning about Ayurveda, which was completely lacking in my life until I took, meaning the education part of it. Practice was in pieces. Ayurveda, the way I look at it, the word itself says a lot. Ayu means age, Veda is science. It's a science actually of life, but it's a science, ageless science of life, which has been there for a long time, and it's available to all of us. So to understand Ayurveda, I just thought maybe let's get to why we get into Ayurveda. Because we are all looking for health, either for physical health, mental health, spiritual health, social health. So I said, how do we define health? Who defines health? So kind of went to World Health Organization website to see how they define health, which is an organization which is global. It's not bound to a country, it's bound to humanity. They define it as a state of complete physical, mental, social well-being, and not merely absence of disease or infirmity. So that's how they define health, and Ayurveda, as we'll later see, kind of chimes right with it. If we can go to the next slide. So other things that they talk about in WHO, which is World Health Organization website, is the extension to people of benefits of medical, psychological, and related knowledge is essential to the fullest attainment of health. It's not just physical health. It is how you live, where you live, who you interact, how your constitution is. Informed opinion and active cooperation on part of the public are of the utmost importance, meaning living as a community in the improvement of the health. So it's the social side of it. Social health is very important, along with spiritual, which is implicit in this. So now let's see how that maps to Ayurveda. So Ayurveda, the way I come from field of computer science, and there's a big phenomena for last 20 years, which is open source, where IP, intellectual capital, is important, but it is not as important to be standing in the way of innovation. If you look at Ayurveda, it has been around for 5,000 years, and no one has put their name on any of the stuff. It's just out there, you can go and use it. So it's a complete open source model of knowledge and science, and it has been around for thousands of years. Ayurveda provides a pathway for foundational understanding of health. It's like you can use that, learn that mathematics, and you can apply it to your health in your lifetime at any given time. Restoring connections to the rhythms of nature. You can take Ayurveda and totally map yourself to being in sync with the nature, how nature works, and we'll see a few examples of that as well. Understanding overall health via Ayurveda requires minimal prerequisites. This is very important. If you look at current health care, you almost need to be a doctor to understand complete health. In Ayurveda, it empowers an individual. All you need to know, in my opinion, in Ayurveda, to get participating in Ayurveda is 5 elements. All you need to know is there are 5 elements that we will look at what those 5 elements are. If you know those 5 elements, which are around us all the time, then you can participate and understand all of Ayurveda. You can pick up any manual, any periodicals, any write-up on Ayurveda, and you can say, oh, that makes sense. That is amazing piece of contribution from Ayurveda. Empowers an individual to monitor, control, achieve health in a subjective manner, which is a big thing because right now we are in the world of objective care, meaning apply the same rules to everyone, and we are all different. No two leaves are same. Leave aside human beings, so we have to have science as objective, but the application of science has to be subjective. Objective understanding is important from evidence-based science point of view, however, implementation has to be subjective. Ayurveda provides an inclusive age model, old model for the future. This is not something, this is ancient, this is ageless in my opinion. This was created very much for us today, and it is created for the future generation and totally relevant. Ayurveda can complement modern medicine. In my opinion, modern medicine is a great gift. It's exploration that could attach itself to Ayurveda. Ayurveda provides a foundational health. Provides clear understanding of formulation because it connects, the science of Ayurveda connects the understanding of body, mind, and the spirit and social aspect of health. That is very essential. Next. So let's take a look at very basics of Ayurveda. As I mentioned earlier on, 5 elements. The 5 elements that we all see around us, and that is what we are all created from, are ether, which is space, air, fire, water, and earth. These 5 elements is what creates us. So if you try to visualize it from subtle all the way to the gross, is ether. Space is the most subtlest one, which is out there everywhere in this cosmic system, and earth is the grossest on this planet. Now, how do we visualize the 5 elements? Let me give you an example. If you visualize a seed, if you put a seed in the ground, the first thing the seed gets is earth. You put it in the earth. The second thing what you do is you put some water. It takes the earth, the water, then it gets heat, which is the fire, a little bit of fire. Then it starts, the stem comes out, germinates, comes out, takes the air and grows. The shoot comes out. Now, to become a tree, it needs space. So it uses the space. So those are the 5 elements that creates a tree from a seed. And those are the same 5 elements we need in our lives to be who we are. So kind of give you a relevance of the 5 elements. Next few. Now, there is some vocabulary which is very basic in Ayurveda. And these 3 words, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, you'll hear a lot when you read anything about Ayurveda. But again, these 3 are derived from the 5 elements that we just talked about. And these 3 things uniquely defines each one of us. We all have unique genetic code, and that's described using these VPK. These are the intrinsic property of the elements. So the VPK, if you look at the picture on the right, the Vata, which is V, is the combination of space and air, ether and air. If you look at Kapha, it is a combination of earth and water. The Pitta is a combination of water and fire. And that's kind of how VPK is defined. Other concept that is kind of nice to know as basic Ayurveda is the gunas, they call it qualities. So each of these elements have their qualities. Like the air has its quality, space has its quality. So those are inherited by VPK from those building elements. And there are 10 listed here, and there are 10 more which are opposites of those. That's it. 20 gunas defines all of the characteristic attributes of each of those VPK, what builds up an individual. Now, mental, physical, and even the spiritual can attribute to our VPK, how we are built. Now, how do we define quickly our current state of health using this VPK? So we are born with some combination of VPK, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, which is our natural and most, stable state. And due to the environments we live in, the people we interact with, the relationship we have, it gets shifted. And that shift, the gap between where VPK was and where it shifted to, defines the gap between our optimal health. we need to narrow that gap. And that's how Ayurveda, in a kind of nutshell, defines the state of our health. And we need to work, it provides a mechanism to narrow that gap. So we learned the basic of Ayurveda. And you learn 5 elements, you learn BPK. You might say, how can I apply this to my life, right now, just using this? So let's see if we can give you guys some tools. So, and visuals. So how do we get started? So Pitta, Kapha, Vata, those Vata, BPK that we looked at, each one has its visual. And the visuals, I just, or on the right, the picture that you see, the first one is the Vata visual, which is quality reflecting the elements of space and air, and it's more slimmer, thinner, more eroded because of the air and space. Pitta quality reflecting elements of fire and water is more heated, and you will see more redness, kind of. And on the Kapha side, you have, which is more of the catabolic, anabolic side of it, which is building, and due to earth and water. So it's people who are a little bit more fleshier, a little bit more bigger in their body structure at a very, very high level, 5,000 feet level. That's kind of VPK character, if they're dominating, whether they're V dominating, P dominating, or K dominating. And we'll look at more details in the next slides. So I just thought it'd be good to kind of associate a known face to who these Pitta types are. And I thought she falls more into the Pitta realm. Pitta people are generally goal-oriented, focused, witty, organized. Their physical frame is medium. Their skin is more reddish. Their tongues, their nose, ears, they're more medium built. When they're not in balance, when they're off balance, they tend to get very angry, jealous, very critical, easily irritated, tend to have ulceritis, heartburn, could get hypertension, diarrhea, acne, get too thirsty. What could cause imbalance to Pitta people? If they spend too much time in sun, if they eat too spicy food, if they tend to be having too much alcohol or stuff which are more stimulants, too much work, competitive situations. To balance Pitta people, what they can do is they can gravitate towards having meditation in their life, focus on their breath, drink and eat more cooling food like mint, salad, avoid stimulants. And from yoga point of view, they could do more restorative type yoga, non-competitive, twists, planks, cobra, but not competitive. That's kind of what is kind of in a summary what Pitta people looks like, what they could do, how to bring to balance, what might drive them to balance. We'll go to next one. Kapha. So Kapha folks are more stable, more calm, loving, chill, more built heavy in structure, and they don't like change. They like to be the way they are. Change is not their favorite thing. Physically, they are bigger frame, they have thick, oily skin, and their features are more on the larger side. When they're in balance, they totally would not change. They would resist change. They would be sluggish. They are more possessive in what they own. They don't want to share. Low motivation. They gain weight easily. They tend to have congestive problems easily. They'll have cold. They'll catch cold. They'll have edema-related issue if they are in imbalance. What causes imbalance is sometimes overeating, sleeping, oversleeping, too much dairy products, cold, emotional eating, lack of exercise, they don't have a routine, they are not exercising. And to balance, what they could do is start exercising, drink and eat warm, light food, eat better, pungent, astringent foods, have kind of a little routine. From yoga perspective, what they could do is do more. These are the folks who need a little bit more movement, more action in their life. Dynamic vinyasa style yoga is good for them. Brahmana style, which is more trying to expand your breathing. Twist, plank, cobra moves, they're all good and more inactive rather than slow movements. And the last one, which is next slide, which is Vata. These are people who tend to be lean, fidgety, little unfocused. They're very creative folks. They're flexible. They'll be going one time this direction, another time that direction. They have many friends and no friends. Physical, they are light frame, dry skin, smaller features, their tongue, nose, ears. When they're imbalanced, they are somewhat anxious, they will have lack of, couldn't sleep, they would be erratic, tend to get cold, they lose weight easily, they'll have problems with constipation, like weaknesses, joint issues. So what causes that? What causes Vata aggravation to folks is travel. When you're traveling, you have that air and space component kind of coming too much in you. The stress, the excessive exercise sometimes leads you there. Running, too much exercising, too much activity. To balance, what they need to do is have a routine in their life, sleep on time, keep warm, eat more heavy tendency foods and liquids, avoid dry and salads, stuffed beans kind of food. Oil massages are good for them. Sweet, sour, salty, cooked foods are good for them. And from yoga point of view, they need to be more in a slow pace activity. Yin yoga is good for them, balancing, pranayama is good, and langana style of yoga is good for them. And none of these things, this is a summary of that. None of these are bad, it's just a characteristic of each individual. They are all good in their own frame, but they're all different. Now this kind of summarizes what we just went through. I kind of have this in one slide. So Vata, the energy movement, Vata is cold, light, dry, mobile, and Pitta is transformation is hot, oily, smooth, and light. Kapha is energy or structure. Kapha is cold, moist, heavy, dense, and dull. And these are coming from those 10 gunas that we saw earlier on, and 10 plus 10, 20 gunas. Where do you see Vata in nature? Seasons. Late autumn to early winter is a Vata aggravated time. Pitta is when it's summertime, late spring and summer. And the Kapha tends to be around this time, which is late winter, early spring, is when the Kapha is aggravated in nature itself. Balanced mind, when somebody is balanced as a Vata type, they are energetic, they are adaptable, they have a healing energy, they are very good communicator, positive spirit, they are extremely creative people. Pitta type are the leaders type, they are intelligent, they are perceptive, courageous, very transformative, good leaders, tend to have enlightened ideas, they're consistent. Kapha types are loving, nurturing, very patient, very stable, devotional, loyal, and they're peaceful and forgiving types. They're relationship bound and they're always there for you when they're in the balanced state. Vata body is tall or very short, thin, small eyes, dull and dusty skin. They have good circulation, nerve impulses. They would be very impulsive in doing things. Pitta types have good metabolism, digestion, circulation, toned muscles, they're medium height. Kapha bodies are large, well developed, usually short, can be tall or large, but their body types are big, moderate circulation, and cool, damp skin. Their skin is generally is moist and cool. Imbalance, when Vata gets imbalanced, they get to be fearful, indecisive, agitated, secretive, anxious, unreliable. Pitta type, they get willful, very aggressive, vain, easy to be, they get angry, vindictive, reckless, sometimes, some criminal mind, they tend to go there quicker. Imbalanced mind for Kapha would be controlling, they don't like change, materialistic, lethargic, apathetic, and insensitive when they are in imbalanced mind. Imbalanced body for Vata is, it causes, when the Vata is off, causes constipation, PMS, dry skin and hair, brittle nails, arthritis, muscle spasm, anemia. An imbalanced body for Pitta, migraine headaches, skin eruptions, and nausea or heartburns. And Kapha types in imbalanced situation tend to be obese. They could have more allergies because of congestions, sinus problems, mucus kind of congestion. So this kind of the summary sheet for what we covered before, and I think that's all I have in my presentation, and I can take questions. These are some of the references I used for.
Great.
Perfect.